The offense bails out Sonny Gray on Thursday, plus Erick Fedde fallout. Was the deal really as bad as we think it was? We'll discuss it today on Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I am your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can find me on X at JD Sports Radio. You can also follow the podcast at LO_Cardinals. We're on YouTube. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. You're going to find us at Locked On Cardinals all over the place. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com. That's going to get you 50% off your first year. Let's start with what we just saw on Thursday night. All right, let's start with some fun stuff, shall we? We'll get to the Erick Fedde stuff a little bit later on and discuss the fallout of him being designated for assignment. Was the deal that they made last year really as bad as we make it sound, or was it just a big pile of crap? Because some people feel a little bit differently about it. So we'll get to it. I promise you that. But let's talk about the sweaty one at Busch Stadium on Thursday. As sweaty and as muggy and as hot as it was, ended with a good result as the Cardinals finally get the W over Mike Schultz and the Padres by a score of 9-7 after getting blanked by the Rockies on Wednesday. The Cardinals had the bats going big time against Yu Darvish and the Padres, 12 hits, 3 of them home runs in the victory. But as much as I want to talk about the offense and gush about how much better they looked in this game compared to what we saw in Colorado on Wednesday, I want to start with what I think is the biggest story of the game, and it's just the continued struggles of Sonny Gray. Now, Sonny Gray has been the best starting pitcher on this staff, I would say 99% of the time. There's been moments where Matthew Liberatore has shined. Erick Fedde had a complete game shutout this season. So there's been some moments where other people have done better, but for the most part, he's been your guy, right? He picked up his 10th win of the year on Thursday night, and those 10 wins are the third highest in the major leagues. Freddie Peralta's got 12 for the Brewers. 5 others have 11, and then Sonny's tied with a few people with 10 now. But this is back-to-back games where Sonny has not been all that good. You know, first inning, he gives up a single, then a double. 6 pitches into the game, the Cardinals are already losing. Like, I'm so sick of it. They've got to be sick of it. Another single makes it 2-0. And I've said it before. I'm going to keep saying it until it stops happening, but it has got to be mentally exhausting to always be playing from behind in these games. And it's because the starting rotation struggles so much. It's just been a bad few weeks for the starting rotation for the Cardinals, and they've been so bad that they continuously find themselves in the spot over and over. Even when McGreevy won the game the other day in Colorado, they fell behind first before having to come back to win that game. And good thing was that the Cardinals, the offense came to play, right? They got one back in the first, and then they erupt for that huge second inning where they score 6 runs, all of them with 2 outs, to give Sonny a nice 7-2 cushion. But that didn't last very long, did it? Because the Padres would tag him for 3 more in the third inning to make it 7-5. And it's all about missing his spots. Tatis Jr. takes him yard on a sinker over the middle. He goes oppo on him. Yeah, the ball was flying out of Busch a little bit more than normal, but still. Arise doubles on a hanging curveball, back-to-back doubles for him. Then Machado, future Hall of Famer, blasts a sinker that was up in the zone. He goes yard. Now, those, granted, are 3 elite hitters, right? You know, one is going to the Hall of Fame in Machado. One is one of the most talented athletes in the league in Tatis Jr. And then you've got Luis Arias, who's a 3-time defending batting champion, has done it with 3 different teams. But none of these pitches were where Sonny Gray wanted them to be, and they burned him for it. Now, the defense wasn't great in the 5th inning when he gave up 2 more runs. Jordan Walker looked a little goofy on that double off the wall. It was very Nelson Cruz-esque, if you remember the David Freese hit in the World Series. Not the home run, but the opposite field hit to tie the game up. That is kind of what it looked like. It was didn't do so well on that one. And then you get the ground ball where Wilson Contreras goes all the way to his right so far that like he basically cut the ball off from Brendan Donovan at second base and makes an errant throw. Sonny Gray can't reel it in and drops it, which is why only 6 of the 7 runs against Sonny were actually earned. But Sonny was missing a lot over the plate in this one. And it doesn't matter how hard you throw or how much break your pitches have. When you miss over the plate in this league, they're going to hit you. They're going to hit you. The Padres are a good hitting team, and they've got some really good studs on that squad. And those are the guys you can't make mistakes to, and he did. After the game, Sonny said he's been working through some things. I didn't really specify exactly what it is he's working through. It didn't sound like an injury. It just sounded like he's tinkering with stuff a little bit because he mentioned how he, isn't afraid to take things that he's working on and put them right into a game right away. And he just says he's not getting the results that he wants. So perhaps this is just something that is maybe a phase, just a little bump in the road as he's trying to work on, I don't know, pressure points or I don't know. He didn't really specify, but hopefully better days are coming because this is the guy the Cardinals rely on to be the stopper. And he's been very good at Busch Stadium this year, but the last 2 games, not so good. But we'll give him credit. I don't want it to be all negative here. He did get through 5 innings, worked his tail off. Again, hot, humid night at Busch Stadium, so it wasn't easy. Did not give the lead back, at least stop that from happening. So that's something to be said. But a lot of credit really needs to go to the bullpen. The bullpen was really, really good. They pitched well, especially Jojo Romero. Rattles off another inning in 2/3 of shutout baseball, strikes out 4. I don't know if people have realized how dominant Jojo Romero has been. We brought it up. I think it was right before the All-Star break. I was like, dude, have you seen some of these numbers? Again, another inning in 2/3 on Thursday night. He has made 28 appearances since April 23rd and has given up 1 earned run. 1 earned run in 28 appearances. That's absurd. He's so good right now. Riley O'Brien, it's still a work in progress. Phil Maytime was excellent. Ryan Helsley took care of the rest with Helsley nailing down his 20th save of the season, 4th most in the National League. Yay. Yes, he also gave up another hit to start the inning, which he always does. 5 straight games now that he's given up a base hit. 5. Also struck out 2. So hopefully teams looking to trade for somebody like Ryan Helsley are like, yeah, but look at those strikeouts. Yes. Stare at the strikeouts. Don't worry about all the base hits he gives up or the walks he gives up. Strikeouts. Yeah. Pay attention to that. But it was a big night for the offense. It really was, and it was a lot of fun to watch. So I want to talk about that next. We'll get into that, and we'll talk Erick Fedde. I promise it is coming up on Locked On Cardinals. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or you're planning a big purchase, maybe a car, maybe a house, Monarch's going to put you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances because Monarch Money is not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. It's going to be there for you to track all your accounts, your investments, and your spending, and all in one place, which is great. So you're not bouncing around trying to find certain things in certain spots. No, it's right there at Monarch Money. So in addition to managing your money, you can also build wealth. Buying things online, that stuff adds up quickly. I know personally because we order groceries and toiletries and pet supplies, and we get food delivered and things for vacations. And it's very easy to, hit the checkout button and move on with your life, but you may not realize how much money you're actually spending on these occasions. So that can be dangerous. Monarch Money is there to help you with the things like that. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Thanks again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. Leave your comments on YouTube as well as on X anytime you want. Your feedback is always welcome and encouraged. The Cardinals did not have much fun on the offensive side of things when they were on the road right after the All-Star break. That road trip, 6 games, they went 1-5 against Arizona and Colorado, and they scored just 17 runs in those 6 games. You're supposed to score 17 runs in like one game in Colorado, and you did it in over 6, and that included a shutout in Colorado on Wednesday, which is never happens. So to see the Cardinals come out and crush the ball on Thursday, that was a pleasant surprise. They lit up Yu Darvish for 8 runs on 8 hits in just 3 1/3 innings. And a lot of it came with 2 outs, which is always fun to see. You know, first inning, Donnie gets the single to lead off the game, scores on a 2-out double by Wilson Contreras. Second inning, Jordan Walker with another single. He's looked much better at the plate. Victor Scott walks, and Donnie takes Darvish yard, takes him over the wall in right field. And then the Cardinals, they don't stop there. They set it all up again. They get a single by Ivan Herrera. Then there's a double by Burley. And then you get another 3-run homer, this time by Contreras instead. He goes to left center. It was the first time the Cardinals hit 2 3-run home runs in 1/2 inning since Albert Pujols and Tino Martinez, the Yankee great, who did not have such a great run with the Cardinals, but had a big inning there. Pujols and Martinez against Pittsburgh's Josh Fogg. Do you remember that guy? 2003 is when that took place. So, you know, whatever, 22 years ago was the last time it happened. But that was cool to see, you know, a big inning from the Cardinals. Don't get a lot of those from this particular team. Not that they suck at hitting, but very rarely do you get games in innings like this where you get 6, you know, 2 3-run homers is crazy, but to score just 6 runs in general. I think the last time they did that was against the Detroit Tigers, which seems like it was 100 years ago in this season. Ivan Herrera drove in the final 2 runs with an RBI single in the 4th and his 9th home run in the 6th inning. It was a solo shot. What an addition it's going to be to have him back swinging it well, keep him healthy. This offense desperately needs his bat to be impactful in the middle of that lineup. I know they kind of has him at the top of the lineup following Donovan, but like just having him back is such a big deal. So it's good to see him starting to, you know, piece things together and swing it well. Donovan and Herrera each had 3 hits on the night. Victor Scott, he gets on base 3 times, 2 walks, which you love to see because that's one thing that we've harped on a little bit about Victor is if you're not going to get on base by, you know, hitting the ball and getting base hits, at least have a better eye. The strikeouts, you don't want to see so many strikeouts from Victor because the speed is such a big deal. And when he gets on, he can turn it into a double in a blink of an eye. And he did it tonight. Ended up stealing his 26th base. He scored twice. Those 26 steals have him in 4th place in the National League. He's 5th in all of baseball in stolen bases right now. Contreras, as you know, big night for him too. 2 for 3, 4 RBIs. Excellent night to be a hitter for the St. Louis Cardinals. It was very enjoyable to watch them finally unleash on somebody. And, you know, the Padres just happened to be the team that they did it against. And this is great because you're chasing after the Padres. And I know I've said sell, start trading people away. I think that's the smart thing to do with what's going on this season and what you need to be doing for the future. So I have no problems if they decide to sell off some people. But nights like this, you're like, gosh, if this offense could just do stuff like this more often. And I know it takes 2 sides to work because the starting rotation can't keep giving up 5 runs every time they go out there, which they keep doing and keep putting this team in the hole. And I know Yu Darvish hasn't been very good since coming off the IL. His ERA is close to 10 now after what the Cardinals did to him. But it was fun to watch. It was fun to watch, and I wish we had more games like that. And it sucks that this road trip that just took place, it was a 1-5 road trip instead of, you know, maybe 3-3, maybe even 4-2. That's kind of what you were shooting for. To not have that and to kind of be on the outside looking in, even though they're only 2.5 back from the wild card, they're still there. I just think long term, the best thing to do is sell. And a guy that they were hoping was somebody that they were going to be able to sell was Erick Fedde. And that didn't happen. And the Erick Fedde fallout has dominated the headlines for the last couple of days. I haven't really had a chance to just talk about, looking back at the trade and how it all went down last year and what ended up happening. I haven't had really a chance to talk about it much yet. So I thought I could do it today because we talked a little bit with Paul Holden from the Colorado Rockies, Locked On Rockies, yesterday. But I haven't been able to just kind of express my thoughts. And I wanted to look back at the trade itself because I am still the guy that says the idea of this trade, it made sense. It really did. It just didn't work out. So we'll take a trip back in time. Huey Lewis in the News style. We'll go back in time and we'll talk about the trade and what ended up happening and how we got there and how bad or good was this trade actually. So we'll get into all of that coming up next on Locked On Cardinals. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. I mean, think about the last time you had some sort of service emergency, whether it was plumbing. I've mentioned it before. I had a roofing issue. We were leaking with all the storms. And so I had to get a hold of somebody to fix it. And you don't just stop at the first place you call if they don't answer. And if you're a business owner and you are that first place and nobody picked up the phone, you're missing out money. That cannot happen. So you have to have a reliable business line. It's very important if you're a business owner, and that's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system that helps you streamline and scale customer communication, all from an app or on your phone or a computer, like wherever you put your apps. But it makes it very, very simple for you. If you are somebody who's had to juggle 2 phone lines previously, one business, one personal, OpenPhone will solve that problem instantly. Your whole team gets to share one number and respond to customers like a shared inbox. So everybody's on the same page. You got AI agents that'll handle the after hours calls, the common questions. That way you never miss a customer again. OpenPhone is offering Locked On Cardinal listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnMLB. That's OpenPhone.com/LockedOnMLB. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. Thanks again for making Locked On Cardinals first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. You can find MLB Game Night on the Locked On MLB YouTube channel or wherever you listen to your podcasts. So Erick Fedde is gone. A move that seemingly well overdue, right? Let's be honest. Finally executed on Wednesday. I just watched Captain Phillips the other day. It was on TV, and the whole end scene was like, execute. That's what they did. They executed the move with Erick Fedde before they took the field against the Rockies on Wednesday. This is a trade that did not work, plain and simple. So let's revisit it, how we got to this point in this situation, and see if this deal, looking back, is really as bad as we feel it is at this moment in time. Because at this moment in time, it's trash. It's a horrible deal. Because I'll admit it, I didn't hate the idea of the trade when it went down. Now, I remember when we did talks about the trade deadline and what are some pitchers, or who are some pitchers, I should say, that the Cardinals should be looking at to acquire. Erick Fedde, it was on the list, but he was not somebody I was actively hoping for. I wanted them to go after someone better than that. Erick Fedde, to me, was an unspectacular acquisition that screamed John Mozeliak. It really did. From the moment that you heard that he started doing well and that the White Sox are, the White Sox will shop him, it looked like the Cardinals would go after this guy. He just screamed John Mozeliak, and he screamed St. Louis Cardinals last year when we're rolling out Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson. Erick Fedde fit right into that group of guys. And what the Cardinals gave up is what pissed everybody off, right? You know, the idea of moving a player. And I want to put this in my terms because nobody wanted to trade Tommy Edman. We love Tommy Edman. We still love Tommy Edman. He homegrown guy where, you know, he came up through the Cardinal system, did a lot of great things, right? You want me to play shortstop, second base, center field, gold glove caliber, switch hitter, speed. He had all of these intangibles, and then he gets that wrist injury, and we never see him. And we never knew how bad the wrist was, and we never knew if we'd see him again. We didn't know if he was ever going to come back that year. He was in the minors when the trade deadline took place. He was on a rehab assignment. The idea of moving a player like Tommy Edman, again, solid player, fan favorite, but was almost 30. He is 30 now. Was certainly looking for a new contract. Cardinals had him on a 2-year deal. Hadn't played at all last season due to that wrist injury. And to trade that guy for a starting pitcher in Erick Fedde, who was a former first-round pick, had pitched extremely well overseas, was pitching very well in his return to the big leagues, also had another year of control on his cost-efficient deal. And you got to remember, this is the Cardinals who are, and they know already that they're probably slashing payroll this year. So they're thinking, all right, let's think about this for a second. All right, Fedde's not very expensive for what starting pitching is this year. It's pretty good. And on top of getting him, you're also getting a right-handed bat, a guy you're familiar with who did very well against lefties in Tommy Pham, who was not going to cost you any money this year. You knew he was coming off the books. It didn't sound like a horrible deal, at least not to me. If you took Tommy Edman's name out of it and just said this utility guy was going in exchange for a starting pitcher and a starting outfielder, you'd be like, all right. But it's because we have personal feelings about Tommy Edman, the person and the player. That's why it stung and caught a lot of people off guard. You're like, oh my gosh. And the Dodgers have been trying to get Tommy Edman for a while now. But the idea was to add 2 pieces in exchange for a guy who hadn't contributed at all to getting you where you are in that 2024 season, which at the time was in wildcard contention, very similar to where they are right now. Mo could have sold pieces away last year. Some people thought he should. Instead, he decided, you know what? I'm going to give this crew a chance. Let's add and see what they can do with it. That was part one of the deal. And it didn't work because the Cardinals fell out of contention quickly. Pham was let go, and the hope was that Erick Fedde would then be able to pitch well enough in 2025 to not only help the Cardinals win ball games, but to also become a possible trade chip at this year's deadline, similar to how he was for the White Sox. And early on the season, it appeared the strategy was going to work. It wasn't so bad. You know, first 9 starts, he had an ERA of 3.44. His record was 3-3, which isn't great. The team was just 3-6, but they weren't all his fault. He had 2 disastrous starts, the one in Boston and then one at home against the Brewers, where he gave up 13 combined runs in 8 2/3 innings. But he also had 3 excellent starts right after the Boston game. Had a no-hitter through 6 innings in Pittsburgh that the team lost 2-1 in 13 innings. That's not his fault. Then he gave up 1 run in 6 innings against the Astros. They lost 2-0. It's not his fault. Then 2 runs in 6 innings against the Braves. Cardinals eventually lost that one by a score of 76. Again, not his fault. He did his job. Cardinals offense wasn't exactly doing him any favors either. So he very easily could have been 6-3, but instead they're 3-6 in the games he starts, and he's 3-3. And he was kind of doing like a Miles Michaelis impersonation, right? Competitive in a few games, real good in a couple other ones, but in the ones that he's bad in, he's really bad and like embarrassingly bad. Started May with 3 earned runs and 5 against the Mets and won the game. Then it was the complete game shutout in Washington that was awesome to watch. That was a beauty. Then he throws 5 2/3 shutout innings against the Phillies, one of the best teams in the league. They lost the game 2-1. Not his fault. The game against Washington ends up being the last game he would win as a Cardinal. Since then, he is 0-7. The team was 2-9 in his starts. He had decent games against the Dodgers and the White Sox. Those are games that the Cardinals would win, but he wouldn't factor in the decision. But in his last 5 games, the ERA is at 13.25, walked 11 hitters. He allowed 33 hits, 8 home runs, 26 earned runs in 17 2/3 innings. Like, he's just getting murdered out there. And as a human being, you feel bad for the guy. He's not trying to give up home runs. He's not like, you know what, I'm going to stick it to the Cardinals. No, he's not. He's trying very hard. He's not trying to walk guys. But as a business, you just can't sit there and watch this guy get his brains kicked in every night and expect your team to be okay with it. When it was Fedde's turn to pitch, you would watch like a scary movie, like when you were a kid. Maybe you do it as an adult, but like you're through your fingers like this, like, oh my gosh, I can't watch. Just trying to avoid the jump scares, but nobody could save him. Whatever they tried to do to get him back on track, it never worked. And he was toast, and you could tell he was toast. So that meant that part 2 of this deal, which was either Fedde helping you win those ball games or at least getting something in return at the deadline for him this year, has also failed. In the end, it's just a very, very bad deal that certainly worked out for the Dodgers, who ended up winning the World Series thanks to Tommy Edman's massive contributions, not only at the end of the regular season, but obviously in the postseason where he was on fire. And it was so good for them that they signed him to this 5-year, $74 million deal. Tommy Edman, cha-ching, right? And now whether or not Tommy Edman is worth that is very debatable. I don't know if you've seen his numbers this year. And I know that a lot of people got caught up in what he was doing early on because he was very good early on this year. Really hot start. But on the year, he's hitting 227. His OPS plus is 88. He's well below league average. And they're paying him annually like $12 million, I think is what it is. Because there's a signing bonus that was involved and stuff too. At the end of April, he was hitting 252 and had 8 home runs already in 30 games. It was like, where did the power hitter Tommy Edman come from? Since then, batting 211 with 3 home runs in 50 games. And in the month of July, he's batting just 143 with 3 RBIs. And now he's locked in with the Dodgers for 4 more years at the very least. Now, if you're the Cardinals, are you looking at it going, at least we didn't make that mistake and sign Edman to this long extension? But for the Dodgers, money is not an object, and they got a championship out of it. So worked out nicely for the Dodgers. We'll see how it works out long-term over that contract with Tommy. For the Cardinals, it sucks that none of this worked out. And yes, they should have punted on him sooner to let Michael McGreevy have his spot. But again, they were holding out hope that Fedde could work his way through this and at least salvage some sort of tradability, but it didn't happen. It just didn't happen. It didn't work out. His spot will now go to McGreevy, who will start again on Sunday. Next on the chopping block, obviously, is probably Miles Mikolas. That's the next guy that, if they decide to move on and they want somebody else to get more time in the rotation, it'll be Miles Mikolas that goes away. He's a free agent after the year, has little to no value to anyone at the trade deadline. He's got a no trade clause, so he doesn't have to leave if he doesn't want to. So you would have to get rid of him that way as well, the same way you did Fedde. Andre Palante, he's not making anyone feel great about him after another clunker in Colorado, but he's also, not of the age of Erick Fedde and Miles Mikolas. He's still in his mid-20s. I don't think they're going to pull him from the rotation this year. They want to continue to work with them and try to fix him so he can be part of this rotation next year. Because we've seen moments and glimpses where Palante looks excellent. And then you get games like you saw in Colorado where it's like one bad inning ruins everything. So it'd be great to just not have pitch to contact guys. But at the same time, Michael McGreevy is a pitch to contact guy, and everybody wants him to be in the rotation, but he's earned it. He definitely has earned it. So great to see him get his rightful spot in the rotation. He'll pitch on Sunday. It was good to see the bats come to life on Thursday. It was good to see a win. Winning is fun. Cards are 9 back in the division. They're 2.5 back in the wild card. The trade deadline, I still am very much sell. I'm all for it. And even if you sweep the Padres here, I just cannot see this team sustaining enough wins to maintain a spot in the wild card. But we'll see. I've been wrong before. Miles Michaelis will get the ball on Friday against Nick Pivetta, who is 10-2 with a 2.81 ERA. We'll see how the bats can do against him. He's been very good. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, please give us a follow on X at LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio, TikTok, and Instagram at Locked On Cardinals. Obviously, we're on YouTube. Make sure you stop on by, like, subscribe if you haven't already. You guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason, and I will see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.